how's it going, everyone? I hope you all are having an amazing day. Now, there are a lot of fantastic and amazing mangakas out there, but there are just some specific few that just really hit you in the heart. Some mangakas that really strike you as brilliant. These people who have made works of art. Some stand out more than others. And today I would like to talk about some of those mangakas that I hold very near and dear to my heart. Now, before I start this video, apparently only 28% of you that watch these videos are actually subscribed. So if you like these videos and you want more, be sure to check to see if you are subscribed. If you aren't, be sure to click it. I would really much appreciate it. We're on our way to 1,000 subs. We're at 628, I believe, so we're almost there. So if you'd like to support me and help me reach that goal, I would very much appreciate you guys subscribing. But let's talk about some of my favorite mangakas ever. Now, I am going to be ruthless in this video. I'm not going to mention mangakas just because they're famous and, you know, world-renowned amazing mangakas like Kento Miura. He has amazing art, don't get me wrong, but he's not the mangaka that has really struck me to the core. A mangaka that has really made me feel something just yet. I've only read about 3 omnibuses of Berserk. I'm not even halfway, so I have yet to really get attached to the series, but I'm going to talk about 3 series in specific that really impacted me when I was reading this series. So I think we'll just start off with the first mangaka. Now, I'm going to leave the obvious one for the middle if you guys don't know. So we're going to talk about Boichi. Now, for those that don't know, Boichi is a Korean mangaka, I guess you could say. For those that keep forgetting, like I said, he's Korean. Boichi is Korean. It blows my mind every time I hear that. I keep forgetting he's Korean because he draws absolutely stunning manga art. Now, Boichi is absolutely known for one of my favorite mangas of all time, Dr. Stone, and has some of the best art of all time. The way he draws the male anatomy and even the female anatomy, it really is stunning. I recently read volume 23 and I cannot describe how beautiful this series is. Now, I am gonna show some out of context panels, so I wouldn't really call them spoilers. It's the one with the least text and something you have absolutely no idea what's going on, so I'm not gonna call them spoilers. But if you do consider them spoilers, then just heed my warning. But Boichi is so unbelievably good. The way, like I said, he draws the male anatomy, it is so unbelievably specific. He knows the body in and out, male, female, whatever. And he does show a lot of love to females. He does absolutely accentuate some parts of the female body, wink wink, and I love it. It's so unbelievably good. And along with one of the greatest writers out right now, Inagaki, those two paired up is a killer combo. You never want to go up against those two when it comes to story writing and art. Inagaki is definitely a really phenomenal writer, and countered with Boichi's art comes a manga that will stand the test of time and will forever be one of my favorite mangas of all time. Now, I feel like if any other person were to tackle this manga, I don't think it would feel the same. I can't really imagine any other mangaka taking on this task of drawing Dr. Stone. Now, it is over. There are only 3 more volumes left in English. I recently, like I said, just read volume 23, and there was a panel in specific that blew my mind. Everything Boichi draws is just gorgeous. The way he's able to really make things and people pop, it is gorgeous. The way he's able to draw movement so fluently, and the way he draws action is so well made. I cannot describe how much I love Boichi and Inagaki as well. I cannot wait for Boichi's next work, which I believe is coming out next year, which is actually a webtoons or Korean manga. So yes, he is going back to his roots and drawing Korean manga again, or manhwa. I'm very excited to see that, and there's been spoilers of maybe Dr. Stone's coming back, but I don't normally trust that, and I don't want to, because I want this series to live its name and just finish. I don't want it to go on too long just for them to snag a couple more dollars and bounce. I want them to actually enjoy making this series, and it feels like volume 26 was them, you know, just saying, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm out. But yeah, Boichi is just a beautiful mangaka. I'm gonna put him in my third spot, maybe even my second spot, because next we have my number one mangaka of all time. Now, if you're new to this channel, you don't know this, but if you aren't new, you absolutely know this. My number one mangaka of all time is Hirohiko Araki, the creator of one of the most influential mangas out there, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm not just going to talk about his manga, but everything Araki stands for and everything he has created. Araki, I think, is the one person ever be born to be able to create the greatest manga of all time. I do think JoJo's is the greatest manga of all time. It's not perfect. JoJo's is not perfect, but it's not even a community Araki has made. It's kind of the culture he's made with his art. I'm gonna call it art. He is the greatest mangaka of all time, in my opinion. The evolution of his art is absolutely insane, and you really get to see him catch his stride and just absolutely exceed when he starts writing and drawing part 7. I think that's when his art really reaches the peak and it just stays there. If there is absolutely one thing I love about Araki, is the way he kind of writes as he goes. He never completely pans out the story and then draws it chapter by chapter. He always writes it chapter by chapter. Like every time it's time to write a chapter, he just does it then. He never pre-plans any of that. That's why a lot of mysteries about JoJo's have never been explained. Like, for example, in part 4, when Josuke was saved by someone who looked almost exactly like him, it was never explained who that was, because Araki just kind of forgot about it. And that's what I love. It makes for such phenomenal theories and such phenomenal moments that the community just makes. And I love the fact, as time goes on, especially as you can tell in his art books, the character designs never stay the same. We're gonna go back to the part 4 manga for a second. This is what Josuke looks like in the first chapter compared to the last. There is such a drastic change. Araki is still developing in the very early parts of JoJo's. I believe this was written in the late 80s, I believe, because I believe 5 and 6 was written in the late 90s, if I'm correct, early late 90s. And I just think for a series as old as JoJo's is, it's still standing the test of time. You can still go back and read some really old parts from the 80s and it still compares to newer manga coming out now. I think Araki was way ahead of his time, and he still is. The official color scans are absolutely gorgeous. Like I said, he peaked in part 7 and is still currently peaking in part 8. I am very excited for part 9. His widespreads, his character focused shots, the fights, the character designs are so unbelievably cool. It is so fucking cool. I cannot wait to see more when part 9 comes out. I dream I could have been back in Japan in 2012 when he had his art museum, a fucking art museum. I know some other mangakas, like the Attack on Titan mangaka had a museum, and some other mangakas that I don't know of, but I think Araki is the one person that truly and solely deserves a museum of his own, because the man's 62, 66, I believe. He's been doing this for around 40 years. He's been doing it for a very unbelievably long time. He's getting old. So I really hope he's able to do that again, hopefully when I'm in Japan, because I would kill to get some tickets to go see his art in person. And it's just looking through the JoJonical art book, just how much he really inspires people of Japan and even some Western manga that a lot of people are enjoying to this day. I feel like people aren't giving Araki enough attention. He has inspired so many new mangakas and have some of the greatest moments in manga history. He is known for quote-unquote JoJo references. Every anime you go to and every anime you watch, there will be a quote-unquote JoJo reference. And that, I think that's what makes the series so unbelievably awesome, is that no matter where you go, you're going to see a little bit of JoJo's. Whether they're super hardcore fans will only understand, but even people that haven't seen JoJo will understand some references. I think it's a manga that will still stand the test of time, even when Araki eventually passes away, and eventually when he stops writing JoJo's. I think it is going to be a monumental day when that happens. Hopefully he finishes the entire JoJo story in time. Even if he doesn't, he is going to go down as the greatest mangaka of all time. I believe he is going to be the greatest mangaka of all time. Now, I believe Berserk was announced the best manga of all time, and JoJo's Part 7 was number 3, which is beautiful. I love that so much. I do seriously think he deserves it, because I think Part 7 is his best work. Now, while Part 4 is my favorite part, I think Part 7 is just all around the best part, the best story, the best characters, the best action, the best villain. Funny Valentine is easily one of my favorite villains of all time, maybe my favorite villain of all time. It's just the way Araki writes these character arcs, and the way he writes JoJo's is so unbelievably specific. No mangaka could ever top Araki's arc, and I don't think anyone will. Ever. As long as he is alive, I don't think anyone can get up there. I know Kento Miura's the number one, but in my heart, Araki is my number one. And I do think a lot of JoJo fans can absolutely agree with me that he is the greatest mangaka of all time and one of the greatest human beings to ever exist. Also, his collabs with certain brands like Louis Vuitton, a bunch of other clothes brands, I think he's the only human being to get it right. One Piece clothing brands look okay, but I think JoJo clothing brands just look unbelievably cool. Now, I know JoJo's has their own suits in Japan, which I wish could fit me, but my fat ass in Japan would not even fit into a quad XL apparently. But I love Araki. I'm not gonna make this whole video about him, but I love Araki and everything he stands for, JoJo's and not. I think he is an amazing human being. There's so much inspiration behind him and so much you can take away from him and learn from him. I do think he is the greatest mangaka of all time. When it comes to art, there is one series I think is one of the best ongoing monthly manga right now, and that is Yusuke Murata with One Punch Man. Now, I gotta give credit. One's an amazing writer, but I do think Yusuke Murata is an absolutely phenomenal mangaka. So recently, I've been reading it, not recently, a couple months ago, I was reading the manga digitally because I just couldn't wait for the English releases. Between volume 23 and 24, it's a 13-month wait, which I think is absurd, but I can completely understand why. So I decided to read it online, and that was the greatest thing I've ever done in a very long time. Reading that online was a spectacle for my eyes. It felt like my eyes were gonna pop out of its sockets. I do think Yusuke Murata, for those that don't know, obviously he's made One Punch Man, but he also did, I don't know about the story, but I know he did the art for Eyeshield 21, which is a manga I would love to own. But his art is just so detailed. The recent chapters have been out of this fucking world, literally. Some panels, like there's just a chapter of just complete widespreads. It's so unbelievably gorgeous the way Murata is able to write these characters. It is nothing I've ever seen before. It is so cool. The twists and turns, the Monster Hunter arc that's been going on for years. I think it was going on for 7 years. It just ended, and I'm very excited for the future of this manga. Yusuke Murata is an absolute goat. I think it's up there with Araki, as it's the kind of art you wouldn't think a human can draw. I think it's up there with, you know, some really popular artists back way long ago, when I feel like it should be up there. I think it deserves to be in a museum with Araki's art. I think there are some panels that is the definition of perfection and the definition of art. I think his manga is a work of art. I don't think when it comes to monthly releases, anything can top this manga whatsoever. There is no way any other mangaka along with Araki that can top them. There's no one that can top them right now. He draws the best manga, the best characters, the best environment. It's so detailed, and you can't really tell without squinting and looking in. You can never tell how much detail is in his art until you actually take time to look at that. Now, I do think looking at it on a computer screen is so much more beneficial to you than it is on a piece of paper, because there's only so much detail you can have on a piece of paper, while on computers you can, you know, scale it to whatever. You can do this, do that to make it so much more detailed. And I think reading it on a really big either tablet or a big monitor screen is the best way to read this series and to truly take it in for all that it's worth. So I do believe One Punch Man, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Dr. Stone to be the greatest of all time and have the greatest mangakas of all time. But I would like you guys to prove me wrong. What are your favorite mangakas? Be sure to put them down in the description. I love you guys. Be sure to watch out for more videos. I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Take care.